I did want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about Royal Rangers and Girls Ministry, and I'm sure you've heard me mention it multiple times, you've heard other people mention it multiple times, but I just want to make sure everybody really knows exactly what goes on there besides the craziness and fun and messes and all of those other wonderful things that we do. So every Wednesday night during the school year from 6 to 7:30, we have 4 different mentorship groups that meet. My husband and I lead a group for kindergarten through 2nd grade for both boys and girls. We have 2 groups for older boys and 1 group for older girls, and we all get together, and there are lessons, and there are lots of fun things that we do, but I just wanted to make sure you guys know why it is really important. You guys can jump to the next slide. It says, the global church is experiencing a discipleship crisis where as few as 10% of youth in our Christian families and churches are considered as having a clear and resilient faith, and increasing numbers are leaving the church. Many parents and church leaders are left feeling devastated, defeated, and discouraged by this reality. And I know I have several of my own children in that camp. I'm sure many of you out there have children in that same camp, or grandkids or friends' kids, or people who grew up in church, and when they turned 18, suddenly they just had nothing to do with it anymore, and it is devastating. It is confusing and difficult because you walk with your kids and you see them have these amazing experiences with Jesus, and then it just seems like that all fritters away. And that happens with kids who you've raised, who you love, who you've poured Jesus into. And so can you imagine what chance a child has that isn't raised in a church home, that isn't raised learning anything about Jesus? They don't have anybody around them giving him a hug and saying, I love you so much, and so does Jesus. We have, kids have so much access to information today that I could never imagine having when I was in high school in 1994, and even when I was in, middle school in the early 90s and elementary in the 80s. I mean, we did not have access to the entire world with a click of a button like kids do today. And so if it was difficult for me and for us growing up to, keep our heads straight and to hear about Jesus and to cling to that, I can't imagine how many things are trying to crowd that out from kids today. And that is why I am so passionate about Royal Rangers and Girls Ministry and the Truth Builders program that we host on Fridays, because we have just an amazing opportunity to push aside all of that junk that gets thrown at kids' faces all of the time in school and at home and on television and on their iPads and on their iPhones and everything else that they have in front of their faces all the time. And we have a chance to tell them about Jesus, about a God who knows them intimately and loves them and wants to have a relationship with them that far exceeds anything they're going to find on television or, all of those kinds of things. And Rangers and Girls Ministry is not just about moving through lessons. I know, like in kids ministry, when we teach and different things that we're in, we can kind of get this hyper fixation on, okay, I got to get through this lesson, and I got to make sure I hit the point, and I got to make sure we do this and check that. That's not what it's about. It is about wrapping your arms around a kid when they come through the door and they're getting snot on your shirt and you just don't care because they need that hug. Maybe they haven't had a hug during the day, or you have that one little kid that just never stops bouncing the whole time you're talking to them, and you can't keep track of what they're saying, and they are going so fast, and but those kids, they are so hungry for a relationship, and they want a relationship with you. What they don't know is what they really want is a relationship with Jesus, and you are showing them who Jesus is when you have that relationship with them. That is why it's important. So we don't just go in there and we don't check things off a list. And now we do have lessons, and we do fun things, and they do memorize verses, and they do love to earn badges because kids like to, see immediate rewards for the things that they've done. But for the parents and for those of us adults who are involved, that's not the most important thing. We're here to change that statistic for kids who aren't in church anywhere else right now. If you move on to the next slide, 45% of the kids in our program are unchurched, which is crazy to me. Like, I not that this is bad or anything, but I can't imagine as a non-Christian sending my kids to a program at a church that I know nothing about. Maybe they need, Some of the kids in my class, I know their parents need an hour and a half breather from their little bouncing kids, and I get that. I totally get that. And if we can take that hit for an hour and a half when their meds have worn off and they're just spinning around the classroom and everything's loud and all those kind of things, if we can take that hit for an hour and a half and just love on those kids while their parents get to breathe for a little bit, we're not just loving their kids, we're loving the parents too. We're giving them a minute to gather their thoughts, But we have not, the fact that almost half of our kids are not churched, that gives us a huge opportunity with those families. Because growing up, I accepted Jesus when I was 13 at an Acquire the Fire rally, if any of you remember what those were, right? At Emmons Auditorium, I accepted Jesus for the first time in my life when I was 13. And we had a Bible study at school, and we had all of these different things, and all of these kids that we knew started coming to Christ. They would come and they would do Bible study with us, and they were from families whose parents had left church when they were little kids. And the most incredible thing happened as these kids met Jesus and fell in love with Jesus, their parents started going back to church. And as their parents started going back to church, their parents met Jesus again, or maybe for the first time, and fell in love with Jesus. And there are whole generations of families that I know who are in church, who are serving the Lord, who are loving the Lord, people who are going to get to experience their forever reward when they die because their kid met somebody who knew Jesus and met him, And so we don't just have a chance to touch these kids' hearts for Jesus or show them how much Jesus loves them. We have whole families at home who are struggling with the things that everybody is struggling with right now, who don't have enough money to pay rent, and groceries are hard to buy, and life's running 25 different directions, and they don't know what to do. And we have the answer, and we have their kids with us every single week. That is a huge, huge mission field that we have access to. So this is my favorite slide. The next one coming up. So the answer is yes. Will you get tired? Yes. Will you get annoyed? 1,000% yes. We have, my class particularly, we have several kids who come from really hard places. We have kids who have guardians and parents who are trying to clean up messes that are in these kids' lives that they did not make. Some of them, like I mentioned, medication. We have a couple little kids. Actually, if you look real close, this was our Christmas party, which also happened to be on my birthday. So they threw a big party. And I don't think any of their feet are touching the ground right now. And that's kind of like what class is about half the time for us. It is wild. Everybody else talks about how loud our class is, but I love it. That means that there's life. That means the kids are enjoying being there. That means they're learning something, And so you will sometimes leave with a headache. You will sometimes leave like, I am exhausted. I don't know how I could possibly do this. But here's how you can do it, because you are making an eternal difference in these kids' lives. And even if these kids leave and they don't remember half the stuff you said to them, which they probably won't, they're going to remember you, and they're going to remember that you love them, and they're going to remember that you said that Jesus loves them. And at a time in their life when they need that the most, that's going to come back to them. And that is why it is so important for us to be in these kids' lives. We can help clean up those messes. We can help families get put back together. We can help do all of those things in an hour and a half on a Wednesday evening, because it's not us doing it, it's Jesus doing it. Because we're willing to say, hey, God, I'm going to do what you want me to do. You want me to go sit in that classroom and just hang out and get loved on by all these children and go home with the flu? Okay, I'll do it, because that will probably happen too. But these kids are amazing. And my next slide, am I qualified? And so my answer is yes. If you can give a hug, if you can wipe a tear, if you can listen to rambling, unending, but hilarious stories, if you can get excited about all the little trinkets that they bring in, because every week someone brings in some little thing and they want to show it to you, and they want to tell you this amazing story about how they have found this thing, which is a piece of trash. But they love it so much. They love it so much. And they want you to love it too. But they're showing that to you because they know you care about them. If you can do that, if you can tell a good kid that they've done a good job, if you can smile, you are 100% qualified to help out with this ministry. And then the next slide, am I needed? 100%. We could use anyone and everybody. Right now, We have 35 kids on Wednesday evenings. And like I said, they're spread out across 4 different classes. But we would love to see this ministry grow. We would love to see more kids who are unchurched come on Wednesday nights. We would love to be able to have a preschool age program, so that, because right now in our class we have pre-K through 2nd grade. That can get a little hairy. We would love to be able to kind of split that out and give some of our pre-K kids a more fun environment for them. I mean, they make our environment fun, but it's hard for them to sometimes learn things. So we would love to see that expand next year. We would love to even be able to expand what we're doing with the older kids on Wednesday nights, because they are excited. They are excited about what they're doing. They're excited about what they're learning. They do all sorts of fun things, but they love to learn about Jesus. They love to do all of those things. We would like to see kids be able to bring their friends and expand and have more, more children to interact with, but we just can't do that without more people. We're stretched thin right now, and so in order to expand in any way that makes sense, we're going to need more people for the following year. So I'm here just to tell you that it's awesome. Even if you're not a kid person, the kids will make you a kid person, because they love you so much all the time. Sometimes it's painful, but it's always really fun. And so if you are interested at all in learning more about Royal Rangers or Girls Ministry, if you have kids who are not involved right now and you think they might be interested, please come and talk to me after service. I would love to tell you more information about this program.